Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. As always, I'm your host, Mason Kern, joining you every Sunday, and I got another great episode for you here on today's show because you know what? It's going to be an ASU football-heavy episode, okay? Because I know you here in the Valley want to hear about how your Sun Devils are doing. You're in the midst of football season bye week this past week after a huge victory over then number 15 Cal that propels ASU to number 20 in the AP poll. And you know, last time this year that ASU was ranked, they get put at number 24 after they beat Michigan State, and they lay an egg at home. They lose to Colorado. They get out of the rankings, but hey, guess what? They go back on the road, get another huge road victory, back in the rankings, this time in the top 20. So, can they get another momentum-carrying win, or will they lay another egg? I guess we're going to wait and find out to see, but a lot of news coming out of the program in the last week, especially just because of the bye and along the recruiting trail and in preparation for Washington State. And we heard from both of the coordinators at ASU, both offensive coordinator Rob Likens and defensive coordinator, Danny Gonzales, and you'll be hearing from both of them in our show today. So let's get right to it. All right, guys, so in our kind of ASU-centered sports hot topics program, hot topics of the week this week, we're focusing on football, especially, like I said, they get a huge victory over number 15 California on the road. And it was kind of, Benjamin's breakout performance of this season just because it's been a struggling offensive line up to this point with what people believed was going to be a senior-heavy, laden offensive line group that gets kind of put in flux because Zach Robertson is away from the team dealing with personal matters. So the left tackle was kind of in flux, that position. So they moved Cole Cabral from center to left tackle, where, okay, he was a Remington Award watch list honoree this season, projecting to be one of the nation's best centers in college football, but he was really their only option at the time. Coaches thought at left tackle, so they moved him there. He played there in 2017, was not great to begin the season, and especially having to deal with freshmen, true freshmen, that is, offensive linemen in Donovan West and Ladarius Henderson now also playing, because by that Michigan State game, there were some errors with the snapping on West's part. It's just a lot to ask for a true freshman to start effectively on the offensive line, especially at center. So they shift West to right guard for that Michigan State game. They move Cabral back to center, and then they take another true freshman in Ladarius Henderson, put him at left tackle. So you have two true freshmen on your offensive line, but you get some more stability with that Cole Cabral move back to center. And they win that Michigan State game. So, okay, you think you have a pretty good lineup set. Cade Cody went down before the season started with a broken foot. He's practiced this last week. But, okay, so you get into this kind of standard formation, this standard starting lineup. They get more comfortable. You go on the road again to Cal, and you do a pretty good job, okay? The offensive line did respectable, but your true freshmen are outplaying your seniors at this point in time. Stephen Miller at right tackle, he's had some issues this season in both pass pro and run blocking. So there's some errors there when your true freshmen are outplaying your seniors. Granted, that bodes well for maybe the future with these young guys who are going to play maybe be 4-year starters on the offensive line, relatively unheard of in college football. But for right now, it poses a slight challenge. And ASU is going to have to get their recruiting hats on and get some offensive linemen. I think they have 5 committed in the class already. So it's going to be really interesting to see where that kind of storyline goes from here on out. But Benjamin gets 3 touchdowns in the Cal game, and he gets 100 yards on 29 carries. That kid is just a workhorse, okay? He gets the extra yardage. He got his famous spin move. And true freshman Jaden Daniels has another great game for the most part. I mean, relatively few freshman mistakes, freshman throws, you would say. He's thrown 1 interception to this point in time. And sure, the yardage isn't amazing. He threw for 174, but at the same time, he's getting done what needs to get done, especially the unannounced plays on the ground. The scrambling has been huge this year. He had his career high in rushing yards, I think 84 in the Cal game. So just extending drives, giving ASU the opportunity to win games. That's what Jaden Daniels has done to this point. Now, in recruiting news, granted, it is a bye week this week in preparation for Washington State. Coaches were out on the recruiting trail on the road this week, and back on Friday, they get a 4-star linebacker commitment in Jordan Banks. The defensive recruiting has been pretty respectable up to this point. Antonio Pierce, their ace recruiter, has done a really remarkable job in terms of getting guys that both fit the scheme, who might be a little under the radar, and also the higher profile guys like Merlin Robertson and Ashari Crosswell in the secondary. And now you add a guy like Jordan Banks, who out of Narbonne is the 3rd player out of Narbonne High School in Harbor City, California in this 2020 class so far for the Sun Devils. You have Banks now, you have a 2020 wide receiver commit Kobe Stewart, and you have 2020 defensive back commit Mason Williams. So there's a lot of talent. There's a pipeline, it seems like right now, between Narbonne High School and ASU. Darian Butler also came from that high school as well. So they get Jordan Banks as a depth piece in their linebacker core. Also, Will Schaefer out of Scottsdale Saguaro High is also committed to ASU, and he's another linebacker prospect that the program is pretty excited about. Now, 2 other guys who are close in their decisions. Defensive lineman Omar Norman Lott has been trending toward the Sun Devils as of late. And also, you have another guy who I think is really going to be pretty spectacular if he ends up coming to ASU, in Brendan Rice out of Hamilton High, wide receiver. He was unofficially visiting ASU on Wednesday, seemingly was down to Michigan and Colorado, but now trending in ASU's direction. So a lot of recruiting news, especially on the bye with coaches out and about. I mean, Sean Aguano, the running backs coach, was out in Louisiana, and then I think most of the other coaches, Pierce, Donnie Yantis, Dave Christensen, they were all out in California, the more southern part of California. So SoCal, they were all recruiting in that area. So lots of news coming out of the program in this recent week. And now we'll get an opportunity to show you and let you guys listen to both coordinators. We'll start here with Danny Gonzales, your weekly Danny Gonzales Insights.
So Cal seemed to kind of struggle to defend you guys with your pass rush on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. What kind of advantages did that give you from a play calling or scheming standpoint?
A lot, because I mean, one, we knew what his deficiencies were from his time at UCLA prior, and then what he was in high school. So I think you have to go in every game knowing who the backup quarterback is, what they're good at. And so I usually do it on Wednesday nights, but Wednesday nights, if there's not a lot of tape on the backup quarterback, I have our graduate assistants make a cut-up of that guy, go back and watch their high school tape just so that we know what kind of athlete we're dealing with. He's a really good athletic kid. We knew he would struggle with some of the stuff that we put in his face. And it's hard for a backup quarterback to sometimes come in during the game, because if their styles are different, and Chase Garbage is a really good player, that quarterback has to practice what that guy's good at. So we were able to get some pressure off the edge. We knew we had a couple of places in the O-line where we wanted to attack. And when you know you can be successful in some of those spots, it makes the coverage easier. And then when we are getting pressure in the quarterback's face, those guys seem to cover them a little better. I mean, coverage, pressure is the DB's best friend. And we kept telling those guys on the sideline, the only way we're going to lose this game is if you give up a big play over the top. And they were aggressive, so the free safety was playing a little bit deeper. But I think when we know we can get pressure, if there's a weak link that we know we can attack and have success, it makes things a lot easier.
Are you concerned about Kobe and his hand at all? Or
I'm not concerned about Kobe because it's Kobe. Defensive-wise, he's the most consistent and might be the physically or mentally toughest kid on our side. So it's going to hurt like heck, and they'll make it okay. I mean, they'll wrap it up. They'll put a pad on it. It's going to hurt like heck on Sunday. So some guys handle those things different. Usually the first time they're okay. It's how they deal with the next day, whether or not he'll be good for the next game. Because in first game, he's not going to have any idea it's going to hurt. You get enough adrenaline going. But that Sunday, on a bone injury like that, it's miserable. And then you kind of really find out how tough they are. I don't question Kobe's toughness at all. So I don't think now he'll have to get used to playing with the club. He'll have he'll have the 2 fingers available, but the rest of it will be kind of wrapped up. So he'll be back on Tuesday. The biggest thing right now is to get the incision. There's about 6 or 7 stitches in there that need to heal so that it don't get infected. That would be the biggest concern right now.
How different is that from Chase's injury? Because he had the hand.
Chase's more was the wrist. So his wrist, he had a little bit more movement with his fingers. Kobe's fingers will be a little bit. So it is different. The brace will be similar so that their techniques are the same. Chase is able to actually use all 5 fingers. Kobe won't be able to. So that'll be the biggest difference in tackling and all that stuff. So he's going to have to be really physical and running through all those things, especially out on the perimeter where Kobe plays.
What exactly was Kobe's injury?
Broke his hand. Broke the finger, not his hand, broke his finger, the middle finger right below it, broke it. So the bone going down broke.
Upon rewatching Cal, how well did you think Jack Jones played in his first start here?
I thought he did. I thought he was pretty good. I'm a tough critic, so I think there's a lot of things that we can improve on, and that's with everybody, not with him. He did a nice job though, because he didn't find out he was starting until pregame warmups, and so you always talk. I mean, you always talk about next man up and preparing yourself like you're the starter. Until you're the starter, you ain't the starter. And I mean, we can talk all that stuff we want to, and we preach it, and I believe in that stuff, because you have to prepare yourself mentally. But unless you are, now Jack has experience because, I mean, he played at SC and he's played in big-time games. He played in the Rose Bowl. I mean, he's done something that we all want to aspire to do around here. So he had an advantage in that aspect of it. Willie had the advantage of he got all week to know he was going to start, and he still struggled the first. I mean, the fifth play of the game, he gives up a 30-yard pass where I told Chase, man, I mean, you need to start freaking pointing at that dude so everybody doesn't think it's you, because it wasn't him. But just jawing with him and stuff, you know, hey, come on, man, that you got to be there so everybody knows whose fault it is. But I'm just giving Willie a hard time. He and Willie really recovered from that deal, so that was pretty cool. I mean, he had all week to prepare and did a nice job, because that can really crush somebody sometimes when you give up a deep ball early. And he was able to fight back, and he played well the rest of the game.
Really shut Cal down after their first drive of the second half. What was the contributing factors in the 12-run in a row drive? What you guys were able to do after that?
The biggest thing was in the whole game, we had 5 assignment errors. On that one drive in 12 plays, we had 4. So we came out of halftime. Relaxed. They came out. I don't know if we thought it was going to be easy. I mean, we haven't handled that stuff when we think we're going to do something that's going to be simple yet. And so, I mean, Cal wasn't going super fast. They weren't running new plays. So I thought we were a little bit. We weren't as aggressive on that series, and we made some mistakes. And on 2 of them were third downs. The very last one, and then a 3rd and 6 that we have 2 guys on the wrong side on both those plays, where leaves the lane open. Now we recovered and made them 6-yard gains, but those things should be stoned at the line of scrimmage. And on the touchdown, I got really upset, because that's a defense that we've ran 100 times since the beginning of fall camp, and we don't get lined up, and we should have a guy pinching and hitting it in the backfield, and instead they scored a touchdown when we were too high. Our nose guard did a really nice job getting through the center and the guard to the play side. The backside's too high and gets run off the ball, and then we don't have a guy pinching. So we made assignment errors on that drive. We got after them on the sideline. They responded really well, and then we were a lot more aggressive. We were shooting gaps. It was a lot more downhill than it was on that drive, and we've got to do that for 60 minutes. We can't do it for all but one series. I mean, we give up the long play on the second series, and we give up dirty eyes Chase on a double move route. And Chase, actually, I'm going to give Chase recovered from that too, because he got beat on that, and then he was really pretty solid the rest of the game in coverage and in run support. And then I thought it was a big-time stop after the turnover. They ended up getting 0 yards. We're inches away from blocking the field goal. Merlin actually went under his arm. He did a great job of coming. Or else we might scoop that thing and score. But I thought that was a big momentum swing, because they had an opportunity to put some points on the board, and then our offense did a great job, drove it down and put it in the end zone. And, from that point on, it was nice to see our kids on the sideline. I told them when they got the ball with 2:53 to go, we ain't being passive. I mean, you guys make plays. The only way they beat us is if they get over the top. And we're not going to give them an opportunity to throw it. So when you get back there, make them feel it. And they responded. They did a nice job. It was good.
Ashari had, obviously, the interception and, the knockdown. But just, I know you said the secondary and the communication's gotten better all year long. But, just his development and how he's grown from in the defense from last year to this year.
He's gotten better the last 2 weeks. I was disappointed a little bit in his performances early. He made a couple of mistakes assignment-wise. And he played okay early, probably played pretty good to okay. He put a really big emphasis on trying to get better in practice. And when you practice good, you play good. George Lee's a perfect example. He busted his tail last week in practice, and he's the defensive lineman of the week in the Pac-12. Those things, you're welcome, George. Those things are, that's where you get better. And I say it to these guys all the time. You don't win the game. You win the game on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday's preparation to make Saturday easier and to have a chance. And the last couple weeks, I thought Ashari did a really nice job, and he's played better for it. And we expect those things out of Ashari all year long. We missed. I think I went back through this whole last 2 weeks. We have 2 interceptions, which is really depressing. We've had 8 legitimate chances at interceptions that we haven't converted, and we got to make those plays. I expect them to make those plays.
As you start to think about preparing for Washington State, what all kind of goes into the calculus of that?
I think Coach Leach is he's super innovative. He does, and he's got his mind set on what they want to do. And it's been a media stir. He called his team out, so they're gonna come in here fired up with their hair on fire, ready to go. And he's a really good football coach that will have those guys. He says things, then he believes them, and he's got a way of getting his message across to his team. Because I promise you, every single one of those guys. I don't take it that they're going to fold on him, because that's not the culture that they've built up there. And that ain't the first time that he's told them how he feels about them. So none of them boys got their feelings hurt. They're going to come in here ready to freaking whoop our tail. And so our boys better not feel good about themselves and know what challenge we have. And they've done they scored a lot of points up until the Utah game. They've been, Houston did a nice job. They held them to 31. They had a couple unforced errors in that game, but they've been 50 to 60 in every other game until Utah got after them on last Saturday night. And he'll have his boys ready to prepare, and plus they have the extra week like us to get ready. So they'll be healthy, and they're going to hear how soft they've been for the last while, so they'll come in ready to go.
You score a lot of points. Obviously, that's a challenge.
It's a big challenge. Big challenge. You got to hold them to one less. And I think the quarterback is really, really good, especially he's patient. He sits in the pocket. You three-man rush him, and he don't even bounce around. He will stand there until he finds somebody coming open. And we've got to do a really good job when the quarterback, if it's not immediate pressure, if he's moving around back there, of staying in coverage, and then have guys over the top, and we've got to be able to play the ball. And I thought that's what Utah did a great job. They did a great job of playing the ball. They mixed up the look. They got some pressure on him. We're going to have to get some pressure out of our looks and get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quick, and I think we have some good DBs. So if they're up for the challenge, it'll be a fun day. It's going to be a great challenge. I really look forward to it. This is one that you kind of put on your calendar and hope you get after them pretty good.
The pass rush looked a lot better last week.
It did. We had they came a little bit harder, a couple wrinkles, and like I said, we had some deficiencies that we were able to exploit that got after. Tell you what though, Cal is a physical football team. They are there was some really, this bye week came at a good time because from Michigan State, Colorado, California, those have been 3 very physical football games, and I think I like the way our guys are playing in the physicality portion of it. So this bye week was good to get those guys healed up. I say it all the time, if you don't hurt, you ain't a good football player. And we got some guys that were dinged up. But the good thing is they practiced this week. There was a lot of good energy at practice this week, which is good. They'll get a couple days off now. And then we'll start back on Sunday, and we'll get after them. And Sunday, there will be a lot of energy, especially from the coaches on Sunday. I can promise you that, because they'll get lazy after being off for 2 days. But we'll have some fun.
All right, guys, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this. You're not going to want to miss what Rob Likens had to say about ASU's offensive development.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Call 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. Now, like I said, guys, got a really special treat for you. You're going to hear from ASU offensive coordinator Rob Likens here. And the offense has really come into its own in recent weeks. 31 points against Colorado, and they get a gritty win over California, 24-17. So offensive kind of coming out party, especially after only putting up 19 against FCS opponent in Sacramento State, and then 10 the following week in a win over Michigan State. Now the offense is really starting to find a little bit of an identity. Jaden Daniels is more comfortable. The offensive line has a starting rotation. So let's hear what Rob Likens had to say heading into Washington State.
So Rob, when you view the team after week 5, is that kind of what you envision from the progression from preseason camp until now?
Yeah, I'm pleased where we're at. You know, if you look at the drive charts of our last 2 conference games, you know, and it was obviously a rocky start, you know, with the situation with the offensive line, starting a freshman quarterback, not, you know, getting into the full playbook and all that stuff in the first 2 games. So, you know, you kind of kick those out a little bit, and I just kind of look at the last 2 conference games where we're at, you know, and look at the drives and the drives that we put together and the results of those drives. And there's a lot of places that we can improve, but, you know, with what we got going on right now, I think we're in a good spot.
When Herm said the other day that he wants the offense to be more explosive, put more points on the board, obviously you share that sentiment, but
Sure.
What do you think has held you back so far from achieving that?
Well, 2 games that, you know, we specifically, we've missed some shots. Obviously, you know, going back, we've done that, and some teams have taken the shots away from us at times. You know, Michigan State did a really good job of rolling the coverages. But you know, we had 2 games that we had specific game plans. How are we going to win that game? And, you know, I think that's what a lot of people lose sight of nowadays in college football is I think, you know, you have an offense coordinator, defense coordinator, and, you know, they kind of really don't talk during the week. And, you know, the head coach goes, how do they look on offense? How do they look on defense? Then you go out there and see what happens on your side of the ball, but we don't do that here. We have a specific plan when we go into a game. How are we going to win the game? And we went into the Michigan State game and we went into the Cal game with a very similar game plan. And so you're going to have shot opportunities, but if you miss those and you have the game plan of going into ball control, you're going to run the football more and all that stuff. You know, those opportunities are going to – you got to hit them, or you're not going to have the explosive plays. And I think that attributes a little bit to it right now.
And Frank said yesterday, talking about the offensive line, with Cole back in the middle, it almost seems like more of a calm for the line. But just, your take, I know it's been since the Michigan State game, but just having him back in the middle, do you feel that the communication on the line is even stronger now?
Oh, absolutely. And he's been through there. And so what happens now in college football, people aren't just standing there anymore and just lining up in a 4-man front and just playing their gap. You're getting, slants and more slants and loops and a guy that sees that all the time. And Cole has, got a lot of experience. You can react faster. You get a younger guy, they don't react as fast. And all it takes in football is a split second up front for a guy to get beat on an outside, and it stuffs the run game where you could have blocked it for 5 and you get -1, and that could change an entire drive. And it's really just one guy's step and things like that. So, and now we're getting just more consistency up there, and the running backs are have more confidence. They know the blocking scheme. They know how Cole's going to react. They know how the Donovan's going to react, and Lasoya up front on the guards. And so, yeah, it is a calming effect for sure.
Cade sort of getting reincorporated now.
Right.
What do you think about just where he's at and what's possible?
Yeah, we're going to see. We'll know a little bit more on Sunday how he responds. We did a little bit of individual, and so we're going to see how his ankle responds and all that stuff, and his foot. And then Sunday and Monday, we'll probably know something more Tuesday where he'll be. But, if he's ready to go, then we'll definitely roll him in there and get him some reps.
What do you think about Roy Hemsley's reps after Stephen Miller went down?
I thought he did fairly well for, coming in and not getting a ton of reps during the week, getting some. But I thought he did pretty good, and I think he deserves to get a look more in games and create some competition over there at that right tackle position.
Well, going back to the statement you made the other week, you still want to have the same starting five at offensive line, everything else equal.
Yeah, you would love to do that every week. And one guy coming in and giving a guy a series and all that stuff, I think it creates competition. It creates great attitudes at practice because even if you're a second-team guy, you're going to play in the game, so it keeps your concentration during practice, all of that stuff. So I think it really helps, even if you rotate them in for a series.
How are you feeling about where the run game's at right now?
I think it's improving, and I think Eno's in a good place. He was a little banged up early in the year, and now he's starting to get a little healthy. And so I just think it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Herm was saying when Jaden takes off, he's yelling at him, get down, get out of bounds. Are you yelling the same thing from the coaches?
I'm yelling, don't slide until you get past the sticks. I don't want to call 3rd and 1, man. Come on. You know what I'm saying? He loves doing it. I think he slides and he looks up at me at the box. You know what I mean? But, man, just, get the first down. No, but one thing I am pleased with him, and I've found that, is he's a smart runner. He's not running straight up, and he just has that elusiveness, and he knows when to slide. He knows, the angle to get to the sideline, and he doesn't take too many chances with his body.
Is that something that you guys worked on, or did he kind of come in with that skill set already?
No, we didn't work on that. That's just a natural thing. And, when I said I was excited, I said this before the first game, I don't know what he's going to look like when he takes off and runs because he doesn't do it in practice because he loves to stay in the pocket and complete the ball. And so, that was something that was kind of an unknown to us until the season started.
It does look like sometimes he slides a little too early, though.
Just a little bit. Well, the rule is, though, too, is it's right where they feel like he attempted to start sliding. So what we see as fans, and I do the same thing up in the box, I'm already, especially if we're playing tempo, there's several times I've called a play for 1st and 10 and it was 3rd and 1. And I was like, whoa, no. Because I thought he got through, and then they spot it 3 yards back to where I thought the play was. So I'm starting to learn that rule as well. And so, it's right where he attempts. And to the fans, it'll look like he got 3 more yards, but he really didn't.
So you're not trying any New York Yankee film, how to slide into second base?
Yeah, no. Big game tomorrow, though.
How has Joey kind of dealt with this first stretch of the season? It's a different situation for him not being able to be out there.
Right, and with a young quarterback, you don't give your twos a whole lot of reps in practice as well because the ones Jade needs as many as he can get. But this week has been good. The bye week, he's gotten the majority of the reps actually in practice. Joey has, and Ethan's got some, and so we've given them a ton of reps this week in practice, and just to kind of keep them going.
What's your communication like on game day with Mike Bercovici and just kind of having him on the field and then you being up in the box and those two voices in the quarterback?
Oh, number one, he calms me down. He's my counselor. He does a really good job. No, but he speaks to Jaden, and it's really a luxury because he's been there. Yeah. And so he has played in big games. He's done it. He's been there. So he can, it's frustrating when you're in the box because if you're a hands-on coach like I am, you're used to being next to the player, and so you're correcting instantly mistakes out at practice. Well, when you get in a game, I got to go through a guy, I got to watch it, and then go through a guy and communicate in that process, and it really helps to have a guy that has been there, has done it, and knows how to hear. He knows exactly. Me and Michael and we meet all of the time. Yeah. And so he knows exactly what I want, and he's able to translate, through my frustration sometimes and to the quarterback in a calming voice right there, and be able to communicate it so that he understands exactly what I want. It's been really, really great.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now Mom and Dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for our ASU football kind of episode here on the Sports Watchdog Radio Show today. And it's a little bye-week recruiting info, a little bye-week Washington State prep, a little kind of season in review up to this point so far. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know on Twitter, and we'll be back right at you next week with our regularly scheduled programming. That is some more interviews from the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, every pro sport that you could think of. We've done drone racing here on the show before, that you could think of, that you could want. We're going to talk to them all, and we're going to get you the best and most updated info, and you're not going to want to miss out. So anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at A Sports Watchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Ace and Kern.